The notification came at 2:47 a.m. while Emma Chen sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by unpaid bills and her twins' medical reports. Her phone buzzed, and she glanced at the screen through exhausted tears, expecting another automated payment reminder. Instead, she saw a message from a number she'd deleted 3 years ago but could never forget. Received your message. The money has been wired. For the twins. No strings attached. Her hands trembled as she scrolled up, horror washing over her like ice water. There, sent to Marcus Wellington, tech billionaire, her ex-husband, the man who'd chosen his empire over their family, was the grocery list. She'd meant to text her sister. Milk, eggs, bread, discounted diapers, generic fever medication. Every item screamed the poverty she'd been hiding from everyone, especially him. Emma had met Marcus 7 years ago when she was a junior architect and he was a struggling entrepreneur working out of a cramped apartment in Brooklyn. She'd believed in his vision for sustainable tech when no one else would, had given him her savings to help fund his first prototype, had held him through countless rejections. They'd married in a courthouse with borrowed rings and dreams, bigger than their studio apartment. When she became pregnant with twins, they'd celebrated with cheap champagne and promises of building something beautiful together. But success changed Marcus, or maybe it revealed who he'd always been, as his company, Wellington Technologies, exploded into a billion-dollar empire. He disappeared into a world of board meetings, investment galas, and 18-hour workdays. Emma raised Lily and Noah alone in their sprawling penthouse, a prisoner in a golden cage. When she asked him to slow down, to be present for his children's first words and first steps, he'd looked at her with distant eyes and said, "You don't understand what it takes to stay on top." The final straw came during the twins' second birthday party. Marcus arrived 3 hours late, took a phone call during the cake cutting, and left before they opened presents. Emma had packed her bags that night with 2 sleeping toddlers and her dignity, refusing his money, refusing his guilt-driven offers, refusing everything except her freedom. The divorce was quick and cold. Marcus's lawyers offered her millions. Emma took nothing. She wanted to prove she didn't need him, that she could rebuild her life on her own terms. Pride, her mother always said, was a luxury the struggling couldn't afford. Emma was learning that lesson now. She'd moved back to her hometown in Ohio, renting a modest 2-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. Her architecture license had lapsed during her marriage, so she worked 3 jobs, morning shifts at a bakery, afternoon hours doing freelance design work online, evening shifts waitressing. The twins attended a public preschool with peeling paint and donated books. But they were happy. Emma told herself that was enough. Until Noah's diagnosis changed everything. The word leukemia had shattered her world 6 months ago. The aggressive treatment plan, the specialist appointments in Cleveland, the experimental medication their insurance wouldn't cover. It all added up to an impossible mountain of debt. Emma had sold everything of value, borrowed from everyone she knew, and still fell short every month. She'd started selling her plasma twice a week, skipping meals to ensure the twins had enough, shopping exclusively from clearance bins and dollar stores. Tonight had been particularly brutal. Lily had asked why. Noah got to eat the special food the hospital recommended while she had to eat butter sandwiches. Emma had locked herself in the bathroom and cried until she couldn't breathe. Then she dried her face, written out the grocery list for the absolute bare minimum they needed to survive. Another week, and meant to text it to her sister Sarah, who sometimes helped with groceries. Instead, muscle memory and exhaustion had betrayed her. She'd texted Marcus. Now, staring at his message, Emma felt humiliation burn through her chest. She imagined him in some luxury hotel, probably fresh from a gala, seeing her pathetic shopping list, milk, eggs, bread, the kind of things he probably spent more than on a single bottle of wine. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands and typed, "Wrong number. Please disregard." His response came immediately. "Emma, it's Marcus." "What's going on?" She should have left it alone, should have maintained the wall she'd built so carefully. But fear for Noah, exhaustion from fighting alone, and 3 years of carrying impossible weight broke something inside her. Her fingers moved across the screen. "Noah is sick. I'm handling it. Don't worry about us." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, What do you mean sick? Emma closed her eyes. She'd kept Noah's illness private, telling herself Marcus had given up the right to know about his children when he'd let them walk away. But maybe that was just another form of pride. Another way she'd been hurting herself and the twins. Her phone rang, Marcus's name flashing on the screen. She almost didn't answer. "Talk to me," his voice came through. And she heard something she hadn't heard in years. Genuine fear. "Please, Emma, what's wrong with Noah?" The dam broke. She told him everything. The diagnosis, the treatments, the bills, the sleepless nights watching Noah sleep to make sure he was still breathing. She told him about selling her grandmother's jewelry, about choosing between medication and rent, about Lily asking if they were poor and Emma lying, through her tears that they were just being careful with money. She told him about the grocery list, about how she'd started buying the cheapest possible food and still ran out before the month ended. Marcus was silent for a long moment after she finished. When he spoke, his voice was thick. "I didn't know. God, Emma, why didn't you tell me?" "Because I chose to leave," she said quietly. "I chose to do this alone, and I thought I could. I really thought I was strong enough." "You are strong enough. You're the strongest person I've ever known, but you shouldn't have to be." She heard him moving, heard the sound of a door closing. "I'm sending money to your account right now. 500,000. It should cover Noah's treatment and give you breathing room." "Marcus, no." "For the twins," he said firmly. "Not for you, not to win you back, not as some gesture. For my children, who need their mother healthy and their brother well. Let me do this one thing right, Emma, please." She wanted to refuse. Every fiber of her independent, proud, exhausted being wanted to say no. But then she thought of Noah's pale face during chemo, of Lily's confusion about why they couldn't afford things other kids had, of the stack of medical bills growing taller on her kitchen table. She thought about how love sometimes meant accepting help, about how strength included knowing when to let others carry some of the weight. "Okay," she whispered. "Thank you. I'm flying out tomorrow," Marcus continued. "I want to see them, and I want to meet with Noah's doctors. I should have been there all along, and I'm sorry. I'm so incredibly sorry." Marcus arrived 36 hours later, having chartered a jet from Singapore where he'd been meeting with investors. Emma watched from the apartment window as his town car pulled up, looking obscenely expensive next to the rusted sedans lining their street. He stepped out wearing jeans and a simple sweater, his usual armor of designer suits absent. He looked older, tired, more human than she remembered. The twins were skeptical at first. Lily hid behind Emma's legs while Noah, weakened from his latest round of treatment, stared at Marcus with solemn eyes. But Marcus didn't rush. He sat on their worn carpet and pulled out his phone, showing them videos he'd kept of their baby years, talking about how he'd watched these clips on lonely nights in hotel rooms around the world, regretting everything he'd missed. "I made a terrible mistake," he told them, his voice breaking. "I thought building a company was the most important thing I could do, but I was wrong. You two are the most important thing, and I'm here now if you'll let me be." Lily climbed into his lap then, and Marcus closed his eyes, holding his daughter like she was made of glass. Noah reached out a small hand, and Marcus took it, tears streaming down his face. Emma turned away, overwhelmed by the scene, by hope she'd thought died years ago. The following months transformed their lives. Marcus didn't just send money, he showed up. He attended every one of Noah's treatments, holding Emma's hand during the hard moments, playing games with Lily in the waiting rooms. He flew in specialists from around the world, arranged for cutting-edge treatment, but more importantly, he was present. He read bedtime stories via video call when he had to travel, sent the twins daily voice messages, and slowly rebuilt what he'd broken. Noah's cancer went into remission. On a cold Tuesday in March, the doctor delivered the news in her office while Marcus held Noah and Emma held Lily, and they cried together as a family, real this time, whole this time. Marcus and Emma didn't rush back into romance. They were too damaged for that, too aware of past failures. But they learned to be partners in parenting, friends rebuilding trust, two people who'd loved each other once, discovering if they could love each other again. Better this time, wiser this time. A year after the mistaken text, Emma stood in Marcus's downtown office. She'd returned to architecture, with Marcus funding her licensure. renewal, and supporting her new, sustainable design firm. She watched him through the glass walls, explaining something passionately to his team, and caught him glancing at the photo on his desk. All four of them at Noah's remission celebration. Messy and happy and real. He looked up, caught her watching, and smiled. Not the polished billionaire smile from magazine covers, but something genuine. Something earned through loss and rebuilding and learning that success meant nothing without people to share it with. That night, tucking the twins into bed, Lily asked Emma, "Mommy, are we rich now?" Emma thought about the question, about how she'd measure wealth now versus 3 years ago. "We have everything we need," she said carefully. "But we were rich before, too," Noah said wisely. His color finally returned, his eyes bright. "Remember, Mommy? You always said we were rich in love." Emma kissed his forehead, grateful beyond measure. "You're absolutely right, sweetheart. We've always been rich in the ways that matter. Now we're just a little more comfortable, too." Later, sitting on the apartment steps with Marcus, watching fireflies dance in the summer darkness, Emma thought about the grocery list that changed everything, about how our lowest moments sometimes become doorways to healing, about how asking for help isn't weakness but courage, about how people can find their way back to each other if they're willing to be vulnerable, to grow, to try again. "Thank you," she told Marcus quietly. "Not just for the money, for showing up, for being the father they needed, for becoming someone I can trust again." He took her hand. "Thank you for giving me another chance, for letting me be part of their lives again, for teaching me what actually matters." He paused. "I meant what I said in that first text. No strings attached? Whatever happens between us, I'm here for them, always." Emma leaned her head on his shoulder, watching the fireflies, thinking about grocery lists and second chances, about falling and rising and the messy, beautiful work of building something real. They had a long way to go, wounds still healing, trust still rebuilding. But for the first time in years, Emma felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope, solid and warm and possible, lighting up the darkness like fireflies dancing home.